There is a question most people have never said out loud, not to their doctor, not to their family, not even to themselves. But it is there. It has always been there, inside you. Will I be okay? I have spent many years sitting with people in their hardest moments. People who came carrying what felt like an inner wound, a marking they believed disqualified them from the fullness of life. I have sat with the grief-stricken, the lost, the exhausted, people who had stopped believing that anything could change. And across all of those years, across all of those faces, that question was always in the room, sometimes whispered, sometimes never spoken at all. Will I be okay? This lecture is my answer, not with reassurance, with evidence. One of them was a scientist. A renowned scientist once sat across from me. He had spent 30 years mapping how the mind responds to stress, trauma, and loss. His work had helped people on every continent, and when his own world collapsed, he could not get out of bed. 6 months after it happened, he finally came. He sat down, looked at the floor, and said, "I know everything about how the brain is supposed to heal, and I cannot feel a thing." I gave him the only honest answer I had. That is not failure. That is where healing begins. He looked up slowly, and that was the moment everything started to change. We have been on a journey together across these lectures. We began with what happens to the mind in crisis, and why Dr. George Bonanno at Columbia University showed us that resilience, not collapse, is the brain's natural default. That recovery does not move in a straight line. It oscillates. Good moments and hard moments live side by side. And that is not failure. That is how healing actually moves. We talked about the assumptive world, the invisible model of reality each of us carries, which Colin Murray Parks showed us is shattered by crisis, and why the disorientation that follows is not weakness. It is the honest consequence of a world that no longer matches the one we believed we were living in. We talked about J. William Warden, who showed us that healing is not something that happens to you while you wait. It requires active work, the deliberate, courageous decision to move toward your life rather than stand at the edge of it. We talked about what Antonio Damasio spent his life proving, that the mind and body are not two separate things. They are one system, inseparable. What the mind carries, the body holds. And Dr. Bessel van der Kolk went further. He showed us that trauma is not only a story we tell ourselves, it lives in our muscles, our breath, our nervous system. It lives in the flesh. Which means the body is not just where the wound is stored, it is also where the healing must begin. We talked about Brené Brown's crucial distinction, that shame closes a person down completely, while accountability, honest, courageous accountability, opens the door to real change. And about the invisible ways people drift apart, and what it actually takes to walk back towards someone who is standing alone. We talked about Stanley Milgram's unsettling research, how ordinary people, good people, can choose not to see the suffering directly in front of them, and what that demands of each of us in return. Nachmanides understood it centuries ago. Dr. Robert Cialdini confirmed it in the laboratory. Compassion is not a feeling you wait to have. It is a choice you make. And the act of choosing it changes you from the inside. We talked about Dr. Andrew Huberman's work, that the brain does not collapse under pressure. It reorganizes. It adapts. It keeps you functioning even when you are certain it cannot. We talked about Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, who showed us that the brain uses everything you have survived not as history, but as a map for what comes next. Every hardship you have passed through has been quietly filed as evidence of your capability. We talked about Dr. Daniel Siegel and the possibility of rewiring, that the system which recorded the pain is the very same system capable of integrating and releasing it. And we talked about Dr. Richard Tedeschi's discovery, that many people do not simply return to who they were after trauma, they grow beyond it. Post-traumatic growth is not an exception. It is documented. It is real. It is available. This lecture brings it all home. Let me begin by dismantling 3 things that healing is not. Healing is not the absence of pain. Healing is not returning to who you were before. And healing is not forgetting. If you have been waiting for any of those things, it is time to gently put that version of recovery down, because it does not exist. And waiting for it is one of the ways pain extends itself far longer than it needs to. Dr. Edna Foa at the University of Pennsylvania dedicated her life to understanding how human beings recover from the things that hurt them most. What she found, after decades of work with thousands of people, was both simple and profound. Your mind does not heal by moving away from what hurt it. It heals by learning to hold it differently. There is a difference between a wound and a scar. Both carry the memory of what happened. Only one of them still bleeds. The goal is not to pretend it did not happen. The goal is to reach the place where it no longer runs your life. And the research is unambiguous on this point. That place is reachable for you without exception. The field of neuroscience calls it the window of tolerance. Dr. Pat Ogden and Dr. Stephen Porges gave us this concept, and it may be one of the most compassionate ideas in all of modern psychology, because it explains something that so many people feel but cannot name. When you go through something painful, your nervous system learns to brace. It narrows. It becomes more watchful, more easily triggered. Things that would not have reached you before now feel overwhelming. And we wonder, what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It learned from what happened to you. It is protecting you. The problem is only that it has not yet received the message that the danger has passed for you. Healing is the gentle, patient process of teaching it that. Not through force, not through willpower, but through accumulated moments of safety, of support, of connection, until your system finally exhales and allows itself to widen again. What Dr. Bruce McEwen discovered at Rockefeller University after a lifetime of studying the brain under stress is genuinely remarkable. The same structures that carry the weight of what you have been through are the very structures capable of repairing themselves when the conditions change. The brain that adapted to your pain can adapt to safety. The brain that learned to brace can learn to open. This capacity does not disappear with time. It does not diminish with age. It stays available inside you, waiting for the right conditions to activate. It is waiting right now inside you. In 1955, a researcher named Amy Warner began one of the most extraordinary studies in the history of psychology. She followed 698 children born into real hardship on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. Poverty, family instability, parents struggling with illness. Children who by every measure were expected to carry the difficulty throughout their entire lives. She followed them not for a year, not for a decade, for 50 years. 1/3 of those children, the ones facing the greatest adversity, grew into compassionate, confident, fully functioning adults, without special intervention, without programs, without anything that set them apart in the earliest years. The question Dr. Warner spent the rest of her career asking was, what made the difference? After 50 years, the answer was not what anyone expected. It was not intelligence. It was not toughness. It was not the absence of pain. It was one person, one stable adult who showed up. A grandparent, a neighbor, a teacher, someone who was simply, reliably there. Resilience, she wrote after 50 years of watching human lives unfold, is not something you carry alone. It is something that grows between you and another human being. That finding means the path forward is never as solitary as it feels in the hardest moments. Now, here is what the science actually asks of you. Not to be strong, not to push through, not to pretend. The first, the nervous system heals through approach, not avoidance. Gently and with support, moving toward what you have been turning away from. Not all at once, not alone, but moving. Because the brain does not update through reasoning. It updates through experience. You cannot think your way to feeling safe, but you can slowly learn to feel it. The second, the body is not separate from the healing. As Bessel Kolk showed us, stress is not only in the mind. It lives in how we breathe, how we sleep, how we hold ourselves through the day. Sleep, protected as something sacred. Movement, gentle and consistent. Breath, used deliberately as a message to the nervous system that the emergency has passed. These are not wellness suggestions. They are how we come home to ourselves. The third, Warner's 50 years of data point to the same truth. One honest relationship changes everything. Not many. One is enough to begin. One person who knows the real version of you, not the version performing strength, the real version, the one that is actually here. And the fourth, Dr. Martin Seligman spent decades studying what happens when people lose the sense that their actions matter. And what he found was equally true in reverse. The return of agency, the quiet, felt sense that what you do matters, that your choices shape your life, is one of the most transformative experiences a human being can have. Small goals, daily structure, something, however modest, that requires your effort and reflects your values. The mind that has something to build does not stay anchored at the point of loss. It moves, slowly, steadily, forward. The scientist who sat across from me eventually went back to his work. Not the same work, deeper work. Work that could only have been written by someone who had passed through what he passed through. He told me on the last day we met, I always studied the brain from the outside. Now I understand it from the inside. That is not recovery. That is transformation. And it is available to every person who is still here, to every person still willing to try. That includes you. Emmy Werner returned late in her research to the people who had struggled most. Most of them had found their footing by their 40s, their 50s, some later still. Resilience can emerge at any point in a life. It is not reserved for those who had an easier start than you. It is available to you right now. Pain is not the end of your story. It is the chapter that teaches you what the rest of your story is made of. And what remains when every truth is faced is not that something never took its place, but that the life we waited for, unseen, had always been the life we stood within.